Hey, what's up? It's your boy Bobby Sapphire, and it is time for another episode of KTOD Radio, the competitive Star Wars Unlimited podcast. With me today are three of my best friends that anyone could have, with the holographic stickers to show off. Justin, H2O, Desai.
Ooh, let's get right to it. There we go.
Yeah.
The giveaways. Look at it.
I
Not,
saw the
not
wheels
bearing the
turning for a
lead.
reveal, and then you just
So
like,
exciting. Fresh off vacation, Mike, you look refreshed. I look refreshed. You also
Oh, yeah,
look
we
like
both
you
went
have
on vacation.
bee
That's right.
sting on your face.
I did
but
get
other than
stung
that,
in the face by a
we're
bee
ready
this
to
morning.
roll.
Looking pretty good for having that happen.
I was looking good.
Thanks, bro.
hyperbolic
And then
chamber.
coming out the Pokemon TCG grinder, Maddie Gem.
What's up, boys? Yeah, I've been playing a little Pokemon. Can't lie, it's been a lot of fun. But the real game, as we know, is SWU.
Maddie
So.
skipped the pre-release on
Oh my
Friday
God.
to play Pokemon. We had a no-show, so we had to play an odd number and create a buy with
Fake news.
with
Hold
that
on.
event. And then and then he created a buy in the Pokemon event by being the odd number in that one. So he
Okay.
created two buy. He ruined two nights, and he went 1-2-1.
May I plead my
my
case?
God.
May I plead my case?
Yes.
Okay.
Counselor.
Number one. I told them that I was going to be the bubble person for the pre-release, so that way everyone locally could play, because we've had a thing where locals aren't able to get all their cards. We're able to get our cards. Booyah. Number one. Number two, I showed up and I first asked to play SWU. I was turned away, and so I signed up for Pokemon. And then after everything started, there was a no-show, and it is what it is. But I wanted to play SWU. I would have played SWU. I'm committed to SWU, but I played a little Pokemon, and I lost to the guy who won the whole thing. So you know what?
Okay.
Whatever.
Well,
Charizard's OP.
even my boy Stevie Getz went to a pre-release, and he had to go to like one of the most toxic stores in Massachusetts, if not planet Earth.
Oh man, yeah, I went to pre-release when 01 drop. I don't know, man. It's just I don't really have much to say.
The limited master. What is
And
it?
even the master can get knocked off his
I,
pick.
Yeah,
I
happens.
admittedly played like a donkey, but my round one opponent just kept dropping Wookiees on me with Han's ability.
That seems pretty good.
And yeah, that seems like a pretty good limited combination.
So
They made a movie
Wookiees
about
plus
that.
Young Han broken. Confirmed.
Yeah, the Wookiees were
Yeah.
good. I had two of the Wookiee Warrior, who draws a card when you spot a Wookiee, and then had the 3/5. That's like a bunch of different traits that was a Wookiee, and that was like a pretty slick little combo.
the escaped convicts or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the liberated slaves, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so today we're going to talk about
Depends
set
on
two
what side of the
meta.
coin you're on. Some people say they're liberated slaves. Some people say they're escaped convicts. It depends on what side you're on. Like if they were your people, then they escaped.
The Wookiees are
I'm not
always
going
my
to
people.
argue about the
Yeah.
semantics of slavery in the Star Wars
No,
universe
no.
on my card podcast, but
Cut.
yeah. And we're going to talk about pre-releases, the rules. So we finally got a rules update. So we're going to take a look at some of those rules. We're going to answer Patreon questions. And the next time we pod, we'll be getting ready for Gen Con. Will be the podcast before Gen
Yeah,
Con.
baby.
And then we'll have
Bang,
these.
bang.
The
Oh yeah,
still
the
gotta-
numpty badges.
numpty badges ready to go.
We have a ton. Do we have a ton?
Yeah,
numpty
I have
badges?
tons. And also
If
I
you
have-
spot us and you're at Gen Con, just come ask for a numpty badge
yeah, we'll
or a numpty ribbon.
Badge
whatever
ribbon,
it's
yeah.
called.
We'll talk about it next week. But I also have some packs to open on the pod. I saved my prize packs for the other night.
Ooh.
So, Steve, did you rip anything good in your pre-release?
I got a hyperspace, whatever the yellow legendary is. That's like a weird one.
Ivek.
The bounce.
You know, like fight twice or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Win the
Cool.
game, like lose the game.
that'll go
Take it
nice
over.
in the cube.
Sick. Yeah, that'd be perfect for the cube. Oh, he's
People
doing
really
foils for
are.
the cube, though.
Yeah,
All right.
people like that card.
Early set 2 meta. Obviously, very early. We only have like one event to speak of, which is the TTI Top Cut, which had a lot of Ray.
Mm-hmm.
0 Boba, I believe.
Yeah.
A couple Sabine and some Han. Was there a Kira?
I thought it was a Krennic.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
maybe.
Yeah, I
maybe
think some of this is our interpretation. Some of this is
Definitely, like,
it's-
this isn't, we looked at that, yeah. This is what we think the early meta will be.
Yeah.
I asked these guys what they wanted to put on here, and this is what we all came up with. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys want to speak to any of these? Well, I'll open my pack while you guys...
Ooh, exciting.
I mean, The first thing is like the major players from set 1 don't need that like there weren't that many groundbreaking legendaries that are going to really shake things up. So, you know, like playing Sabine with ECL still going to be very good. You know, playing blue Boba with pretty much any color because he's so broken, still going to be good. Ray is kind of taking the spot from Chirrut, which was like, you know, one of these fly under the radar decks you could do well with. Maybe bringing blue-red villain into mass appeal. And then blue-green, we saw a resurgence of blue-green, soft control villain, and Kira just actually upgraded that quite a bit. Earlier deploy, hits the whole field.
Kills Boba.
Yeah, I mean, she trades with a lot of stuff, which is huge. So I think that is... So while we didn't see big legendaries, I think that the leaders can shake things up a little bit.
Speaking of big legendaries...
Oh yeah, is that the 14?
No.
Yeah.
14.
That's crazy.
It's blurry, but
we
got
all
a
know
sweet
what
card
it is
for the cube, Steve. I know it's a common, but that's definitely going on.
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's
I'll take that.
the ping bases one.
Sleeve, baby.
I'm already
Yeah.
sleeving it. You got it.
The cool thing we've seen really, unless anyone wants to say it, is like Young Han can take a few different forms, which is fun. So that'll be interesting to see if like
and still exploring too.
change.
Like still getting a lot of games with Young Han. I've been playing a lot of Old Han also to work on. I'm really interested in that Tech DJ combo. And sort of going all in on that and then pulling back to sort of fix the matchups. Like I had like so much stuff to pull the combo, like Omega and stuff, and wasn't really liking all that I put into it and want to dial it back. So it's how I was kind of like thinking about the deck building. Like, all right, how quickly can I get this online and how many matchups? And I think the Tech DJ Han thing is really good. I just don't know if it can be priority one in every matchup so much that you have to like skew your deck with bad cards like Omega. Like 3PO works because you can play a bunch of threes. But yeah, other than that, I think Recruit and 3PO are it for pullers for me.
Yeah, I had a similar experience where I was like, oh my God, this is insane. And then it was like, well, it's just hard because you have to do it so early. It's like the turn you want to do it is just like so many things have to happen. You have to hit like both, and you have to resource on the right turn. I think in terms of the meta, I think we'll certainly see a lot of evolution because like if you look at back to set 1, like the beginning of set 1 was like so different than the end.
Yeah,
I do think that Red Han is like, or Han, the new red leader, Young Han is like the more like interesting leader, like that sort of changes, opens up the most possibilities. Like Maddie said, like Ray is just sort of like a better charity type guy, like force user, blue, life gain, like, you know, upgrades maybe, but you're able to like grind it out and then play Luke's and stuff like that. And now Crate Dragon. And Kira is just sort of like the new, you know, handles things a little more aggressively than like an Iden, which like could get overwhelmed. Now you've got like all these high power units with grit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they're generally like the same archetypes where the Red Han is like, oh, could you do them with green? Could you do them with double red? Could you do them with blue? Like, could you do like a turn early Luke? Like all these different things. So he's the one that's more creative. The Ray and the Kira just feel like they're updates. They're like the updates to the old leader.
The thing I like about the Ray and like more than Chirrut is, I guess like are the differences. I know like it kind of feels like the same archetype, but with Chirrut you were almost like assembling, like you could play a normal game, but you were oftentimes like you needed to suit up Chirrut to win, you know. Whereas this one, like you don't relying on your leader to actually win the game in unit form. You can build a deck that's good and then have this leader that's also good. Because a naked Chirrut that comes out
doesn't really.
Yeah, it didn't do a lot. It doesn't do as much as Ray coming out does, you know?
Right. So the thing that I like, I agree. Like, Ray doesn't have to rely on that. It was like for me when I played Chirrut, it was like he would get you so much card advantage and give you room to play like your Lukes and stuff. And sometimes he would just steal the game. But I agree, like Ray, even though she has a later deploy, is able to kind of balance that out a little bit by like upgrading, you know, moisture farmers. And I like Cantina Braggart. I think that card with her is busted, but I'm not seeing it as people try it as much.
Yeah, I haven't tried the red version. I did play Ray at my pre-release, and I thought it was really good.
In limited, she's like insane.
Absolutely busted CAD deck.
Who's also insane.
And I mean, we could keep talking about this too. I still think like both green. Actually think like yellow, green, and blue boba are still really strong. In fact, like I'm excited after like getting some games against Kira. Like we've been testing against Kira the last couple days, and she's been really strong. But I want to throw blue boba into her and see how that goes, because it's one matchup I haven't tested. Like one boba matchup I haven't tested. There's so many good things with green. The new green recruit that pulls like bounty hunters seems really insane. And we also have a Patreon question that is going to ask about meta and meta developing too. So we'll be able to loop back in case we think of anything. But anything else anyone wants to say about
two is, to me, set two, other than the sort of new Han thing, maybe Bosk, who's not on this list, but like sort of creativity with Bosk. But the excitement is like the upgrades to decks and like creativity that the card combinations make. Like, oh, now villain control can do this with, or villain blue control can do this with Cloud Riders now, and X and Y and Z. They got access to all these new cards like Forlom and Zuckuss. Can that fit into a villain?
We lost Justin.
We lost your
audio.
sound for a sec. Oh, there we go. You're back.
Sorry, I think I lost you guys for a second. But yeah, there's just like new tools. Like, oh, Poe goes into Sabine, but Poe maybe goes into Han, and like just how this all works together. It's like the storyline of set 2, not like, oh man, there's this whole new wave of leaders
thing.
That knocks out Sabine. Because I would say like the leaders on the right probably stronger than the leaders on the left on aggregate. It's a stupid comparison.
Old leaders versus new leaders. I put the old leaders over there.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and also like, we have 36 leaders. This is a very small portion of the meta. What I tried to base this slide on was like, if you were going to an event, what are the leaders you would expect to see? Yeah. And I would say like you would probably, if you're going to like a 5-round event, I would expect to see 3 of these at least. And then I think like, Kylo, Bosk. Like there's there's so many other great leaders, even set 1 leaders, Palp, that you'll probably see 1 of 2. But these are the ones like if I'm building decks and I'm getting ready for my first locals, these are the decks I'm gonna expect to look at, to face and try and counter. That's all. Cool. All right, let's actually before we go to rules, we talked a little bit about pre-releases. I've got another one today and one on Tuesday, and then I think my kids are going to the Cape, so I might go to one on Wednesday as well, because there's one on Wednesday. So I might just.
Where's the Wednesday one?
It's in Derry, New Hampshire. Is the one that
I thought you were gonna come to the Cape with the kids and go to one.
Oh, if there is one, I could do that instead. I could definitely come down. Justin, you said you had like some questions maybe, or you wanted to explore.
Yeah, I mean, I've been focused so much on Premiere, and the 3 of you guys, Maddie, Mike, you guys have been doing like all the content. If you haven't checked them out, guys, check out the videos.
Yeah, we got more limited content coming up next week too.
Right, so we got like 3 or 4 videos on pre-releases, and Steve, you've been in the mix. I'm more of a constructed guy, but I've got pre-releases. I don't want to embarrass myself. So what are some things that I should be looking at? What would you say like the top leaders are? And are there any cards so far? I know there were some in set 1 with limited. There was a few cards that really stood out as sort of being like common, uncommon bombs, so to speak. Like Overwhelming Barrage was one. I actually thought Reinforcement Walker was like better than a lot of the legendaries in limited. It was like that finisher. But like, what cards would you like? What cards would you get ridiculed for passing, in this game, like in a draft, or like sort of that type of card, but maybe encompassing sealed as well? And then also the leader question.
Sorry, go ahead. I'll say this: in the limited one game that I guess I played, it was the best of 3, but Fen Rao was really, really good, and I only had 1 upgrade. So I think even with a limited number, obviously if you can get like 2 or 3, it's awesome. But because it seems like this set is a little slower than the first set in terms of limited play, and the fact that you have a smaller deck size, you can piece together 2-card combos a lot easier than you probably would expect to be able to. So I played Fen Rao and an upgrade all 2 of the games that I played, and like I never had issues finding him, and she was like really, really strong.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, Mike played the 2/6 Sentinel against me, and that thing was pretty busted.
Yeah, I had 3 of them.
Yeah, that thing's really good. I like a lot of the capture stuff. I think it's good. Like Relentless Pursuit, I think is worth splashing for 5 if your leader is a bounty hunter, especially.
Yeah, it's a common too, which means like you're probably gonna have one in your pool.
Yeah. That red deal 3, 6 to someone who captures that.
I love that card. I splashed that card the other day, and I thought it was
you could pay.
good.
Yeah, what is it? 3? You could pay 5.
The open fire, but it's 6 for a capture.
Yeah, it's 6 of
so
a
like
capture.
those are the cards I would pay extra for.
The
blue removal,
like what would you say? Like, is it like
it's slower? The format's slower for sure. It's like leaders that flip on 7 are gonna get flipped. I think most of the time.
Really?
That wasn't the case necessarily. Like I know I had one. Like I had Vader at one pre-release, and I couldn't even get him out because the games were over before he was coming out.
Because there's no Boba leader was just like, this card's too good.
Yeah. So I think. I think CAD though is the best. There's so many underworld cards to trigger his ability, and then Yellow Villain's just so strong. Like I played against a CAD that just had Boba, Zuckuss, and Forlom, and it was just like GG on turn 3, like every game.
And then like every game. Because there's so much underworld, the vanilla 5 drop that rebuys a underworld guy, the recruiter,
underworld
that's
anything,
really
so we can actually get back McClunky and stuff too, which is like really insane.
So underworld,
I'd try to be on CAD array if I could pick.
Yeah, if I had CAD, I would immediately just start looking at, as I continued to pull or sort, like, can I do CAD, and not even look anywhere else unless I had like a crazy bomb in another color. And then the only reason I would like maybe look away from CAD is if I had like Ray and a bunch of moisture farmers or something, like, and maybe like a blue rare bomb. But otherwise, my first priority would be CAD.
Yep.
Okay, so CAD's
and then like
bomb almost.
Yeah. And then like you can splash a lot of removal because the format. Well, like Fell the Dragon for 6 is completely reasonable as well.
And capture cards too, especially if you have like a pretty tough to kill leader like CAD. Even the green capture stuff can be really strong. Legal Authority. There's there's one that like captures something if it's in the same arena as you. There's a bunch of stuff that like if you can protect your leader pretty well. Mando's probably another one that can benefit from taking advantage of those kinds of the cards because of his exhaust. It's easier to protect him. Cool. All right. So we have a bunch of rules. I don't know how much you guys have looked at the rules, but this is like an important part of the game, getting rules updates. So I did like a little TLDR, and then if there's any you want to talk about, I have like the actual rules on some slides. But one of the things is like there's a lot of like reminder text stuff that got put on the rules, like things that were obvious but people still ask questions about, like do I have to pay for my leader to flip? Like that wasn't in the rules, but now it is. Some of the major things though, the leader flip changes. So now when a leader side leaves play, when you flip your leader, the leader leaves play and the leader unit enters play. It happens simultaneously. But they are considered 2 different units for entering play. This is a rules change. This wasn't the case. This is what allowed Boba Fett unit to deal 6 damage to leaders and sort of hold them hostage or kill them instantly. Now he will not get that ability on the turn they flip, only the subsequent turns. And then conversely, Boba leader now triggers off
removing
other leader deaths, which it didn't previously. So like if you used a Syndicate Lackey to kill your opponent Sabine, you wouldn't get that on tap. Now you do. So, and one of the things this was like a gaffe when we did the original, like we were doing our podcast and spoiled Mando's rifle. We were like, what? It never leaves play. That's broken. So this is basically why that entry needed to be in there because of the way Mando's rifle was worded. What do you guys think about this change? I think it makes sense, but what do you think about it for like gameplay?
I think like the Syndicate Lackey thing is interesting with like the 5 cost into Sabine, but that's like pretty narrow in like that specific matchup because then you look at like there's other times where you want to have like a boss instead of a Syndicate Lackey or something like that. So I don't think it's actually super giant. Like the Boba leader thing I think is the biggest one, just on like random removal and like if he's able to kill that leader, that turn matters because Boba's such a large part of the meta. I don't actually think this text is all that it's not going to cause this crazy change in how cards are played. Like the 3-drop Boba is still going to be really good.
Yeah, for sure. But
that his angle was okay, he would do 6 damage to the leader that turn, but they could also maybe not attack their leader that turn. There was just it didn't always line up. The Boba leader obviously isn't also going to always kill their leader, right? It's not going to always line up where they just have a leader and you have a lackey out. So
no, but it does it does make the we think Kira's really strong into Boba because she can flip and sort of hold him hostage, but now I don't think she can as well because you could just you could even ambush Bosk to just kill her and get that back, and now you're doing your full leader flip. So I think that makes that play worse. Because you're able to get your full 8 resources that turn. But
I think Kira's waiting though, right? She's not just gonna flip without.
No, but she wants to flip.
You could still do that.
Oh yeah, that's right. She's not flipping first because she needs to flip second. Right.
Yeah. You just gotta be able to yeah. I was gonna say you gotta.
I think all the interactions are nuanced, and there'll be games where you're oh man, if that was the old rules, this would have been great. Or the new rules are helping me out. But I don't think it shifts the deck building a ton.
No, I just think it.
I like that the Yeah, I like that. Number one, it's more intuitive. I think a lot of people assumed it worked that way. You know what I mean with the thing. So I like that for new people that are learning because we're gonna start hopefully seeing new people join with this new pre-release, and then obviously set 3 when product is way more abundant. But then I like that Boba unit, especially when I was learning the game, was way too good and was just gatekeeping. Every leader's 4/6, and you can't even play your Han because he's gonna get ECL. I like this change. I think it's still overall a small buff to Boba decks, but I like that the unit is a little cut down because that was kind of nuts.
Is there anything else that's big? It's obviously Boba leader.
It's just those 3 cards. It's Boba leader, Boba unit, and Mando's rifle. They're the only ones that got affected.
Interesting.
So the next one up is now actions that do other actions are called modified actions. Those didn't have a label before, and they weren't treated differently. Now there's a whole set of rules that just explain what those are. It's when a card plays another card, like ECL. When a card makes another card attack, like Heroic Sacrifice. Things like that. Those are now called modified actions. It's an action that forces you to complete another action. I don't think that has any real effect, but it does allow for subsets of rules and more clarifications about sort of that kind of thing.
It's still not going to clarify to the guy that his fixed drop doesn't cost free on turn 1 with ACL. He's still going to say, no, modified action, I will play my ATS for free.
I believe they
have
that
action,
guy.
I will wrecker.
I believe they do the examples. They're Bruce attacks with his Toro into Mimi's, whatever. They use that guy's name on the example to call him out.
There you go.
Nice.
All right, we got full bounty, capture, and smuggle rules. I don't know how many times on Friday people didn't believe that you could pay for the card that was being smuggled with itself. But but then you would be just down a resource for smuggling. It would be even worse.
You'd just be you'd be playing Thalia on yourself. I don't understand how you wouldn't. When I was playing it for the first time, I was oh, this doesn't. People were oh, you can pay for it yourself. I'm this doesn't feel that.
I'll say this.
Regular cost.
Every time someone didn't believe it, it was being done to them and not them doing it.
Yeah, there's that psychology of, oh, they're doing it against me. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
yeah, I think there's a lot of because it's Star Wars. There are people who are just new to trading cards. We've been playing TCGs since the '90s. You know what I mean? It just makes sense. Right. But for people who haven't, they lack that not experience of playing card games and understanding how these things work, I guess. But yeah, it's good to have those rules. Hopefully in a couple weeks we're not going to need to go sifting through them. But,
yeah, rules are good. But so this came out Wednesday or whatever, and I still see the same rules questions get posted on Facebook.
People aren't going to read it.
I'm just saying, exactly. But it's you could just read the rules. That's all there. Yeah. I think the most interesting and clear thing about the capture rule is that capture happens immediately. I don't mean capture. I mean releasing happens immediately. when you release a captive, it enters play first, and then bounties and triggers happen.
Okay.
Or whatever. Sorry, I have that backwards. When something's bountied, it leaves play immediately. I guess like the leaving and entering play is immediate before triggers. That's what I mean to say.
So like, here's an example, and then we can maybe see how this works. Like, I put rich reward on your, sentinel guy, who is capturing one of my guys, right? I kill that guy. Do I get to put counters on the captured guy?
You release it first. Yeah, great example.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
See, I got there.
Yeah, as we know, it's hard to think and talk at the same time.
Yeah. People are still pointing out also, like, which happens in anything, but like when you're recording, your brain frequency, like it takes a lot to know this camera's on. So like we make play mistakes and people point them out. This time in the pre-release video, people were super cool about it. In the past, people are like lame. So shout out to all the people who commented on our pre-release like gameplay and like pointed out mistakes in a cool way. Like, love to see that.
Yeah. I'm going to skip nested actions because I want to talk a little bit more in depth about that. What's up?
Yeah.
Can you still determine the order in which the abilities go? If you say ECL in Rook, can you still choose to put the shield before or after he attacks?
Yep. Any triggers that happen in the same timing window still resolve at the same time. Is this about the nested actions one? Or is this
I didn't know if that was that. Well,
yeah, like if that's like a waterfall change.
It looks like it might affect that in terms of triggered abilities and.
So it won't, because those are the same window. But I mean, like shared names don't need the subtitle. Let me just get through that real quick. It's just like Sabine unit and Sabine leader are the same name. Like they have a shared name. So if I'm thinking of things like Kira, where it's like everything with this name cost +3. Not that you'd have Sabine leader in play, but like the subtitles don't matter for same name.
So if I'm playing mono red Sabine, there's two Sabines, or Falcon.
Right. There's only one Sabine unit though, but Justin nailed it. Falcon.
Oh, Bo's right.
Yeah. So there's two Falcons, and if they say Millennium Falcon, both of them have the shared name.
Whoa, that's actually insane.
Those are both trigger.
Regional governor too, right then?
Yeah, regional governor, right.
But that's the way it's always been, right?
Yeah, there's just like because you can have 3 Falcons and 3 Falcons in your deck because they have different subtitles. That's different mechanically than naming something, it seems.
It might not work for regional governor, but it definitely works for what's her face. Kira.
I think it would work for regional governor.
I remember they said that.
I'm caveating it for the comments.
There was something along the lines early, and I could be wrong, but someone said like, you don't. Somewhere in the full rules doc, people were like, "Do you need to know the subtitles for regional governor?" And when regional governor first came out, they said like, "No, you can just say like Luke. It means all Lukes."
They both say name a card, so
that's like more specific.
Yeah, look at an opponent's hand.
Sure, regional governor.
Regional governor just says name a card.
I'm pretty sure regional governor would mean like no Falcons if you name Falcon, like you just can't play it.
Okay, so if a card has a subtitle, it'll be located directly under its name. Subtitles have no mechanical function, but serve as a reminder to distinguish mechanically distinct unique cards that are the same name. Let's see.
Hey, everyone in the comments, I want to see comments. What do you think? Do you think this works this way?
No,
if you work for,
I can't find the one where I got it, but yeah.
Oh,
just hit us in the comments. We don't need to get too logged down in it.
The subtitle is really about, can you have both out at the same time?
Yeah.
And you have more than 3 copies. Like you can only have 3 copies. That's the two things that the subtitle impacts.
Yep.
And then everything else, they're merged together. So it's like I can have both copies of the Falcon out, right?
Yeah.
As the subtitle. And I can also have 3 of each copy. I couldn't have more, obviously.
Yeah. And I'll have the rules linked in the thing. I'm like trying to search and talk at the same time.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense.
So I know it's there because I typed it out, and I wouldn't have dreamed typing it out.
It should work for a regional governor then too, because it just says name a card. So if the subtitle has no mechanical thing other than what Justin just said, then you say Millennium Falcon, Bing Bang Boom, both.
Yep. All right. So this is the nested action thing. I'm just gonna put the actual rule on on the screen so people can follow along. So after resolving a triggered ability, A, if any new abilities were triggered while resolving it, the new abilities are considered nested abilities and must resolve before any other abilities are triggered at the same time as ability A. So Steve, in your example, both ambush and shielded are triggered at the exact same time. Nothing new happens. But if something, let's say like you chose ambush, right? And then you kill something with rook, and that triggered an ability, that would happen before the shielded.
So
like killing a Greedo.
Right. So if like you killed a Greedo, yeah, if for some reason they were able to kill your rook before the shielded with triggered abilities, then you wouldn't get to do the shielded.
Interesting. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so here's the example they give. Grayson chooses to attack Mimi's Vanguard infantry with his Greedo. Both units are defeated while simultaneously triggering the when defeated abilities on each. Since Grayson's the active player, he gets to decide which player will resolve the triggers first. He chooses himself and manages to use Greedo's when defeated ability to defeat another of Mimi's units, Admiral Mahdi. That has its own when defeated ability. Admiral Mahdi's ability is a nested ability since it triggered during the resolution of Greedo's ability, so it must be resolved next. Only after writing a unit with Admiral Mahdi's ability may Mimi resolve the Vanguard infantry's when defeated ability from the early ability layer.
Boom.
And they didn't have that previously. I think that's pretty intuitive to card games, but I think this also, the reason why it wasn't here is why we had so many issues with like Bosk when he first came out, right? Like trying to understand how those situations worked.
Yeah, with the ping. Now here's the real question: who won, Grayson or Mimi?
Well, Mimi is our mom, so I'm gonna guess she won.
Okay, Mimi. Shout out to me. Shout out to my mom.
Shout out to Donna. All right, we're gonna open another one.
Are we just opening packs right now?
I saved my prize packs.
Oh, wait. I'm going to do a shout out to an early comment. It's so disrespectful that they're trying to talk in your opening packs. That was good. That was like the first pod.
Oh, I got a foil.
When I open that box.
I got a foil. Let the Wookiee win, Steve. I think that should be in the cube.
You already have one.
No, that's what I mean from our other thing.
Yeah, because I gave that to you.
Some of the rares in this set are so bad.
Yeah.
Mandalorian armor.
Yeah.
Yikes. Follower of the Way. This guy's going in the cube for sure.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. I'm getting a foil like every pack.
Most cards are actually going in the cube so far because I've been working through it a lot. I've only had to cut about 5 cards from each faction, 10 on some of up to 10 on some of the just straight Vigilant stuff. So most cards are going to be there.
When are we publishing the list?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, when you finish it, you should do a video.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I can do that.
That'd be cool.
I'm about 90% there. I'm hoping to finish it up this week, actually today. So I can probably post a video this week.
Sweet. Because we have quite a few cube enthusiasts in our Discord. Like 2 people who do content around cubes as well. So I'm sure it'll be cool.
Yeah, honestly, I'm hoping to get all the set 1 stuff together for it. So when we get together to crack packs for set 2, I can just slot the set 2 cards in and we'll be good to go.
Nice. Yeah. Can't wait. All right, we're up to 845 paid members, continuing to grow. We had a little bit of a bump over the last couple weeks. Good to see it. We're about to hit 4,900 YouTube subscribers, so we're on our way to 5,000, which is pretty sick. Hopefully 5,000 by Gen Con. If you haven't liked and subscribed this YouTube channel, please do. We'd love to get to 5,000 by Gen Con. I know specifically when we met with FFG at PAX East, they cited our follower count on YouTube to us, which I didn't even know. I care. We're looking at that stuff. Like, wow, you just hit blah, blah, blah followers. And I was like, if you say so. But I would really love to get to 5,000. So if you could hook us up with all your Gmail accounts, that'd be sick. We'd appreciate it.
And these, anyone going to Gen Con, we'll be passing these out. The QR code takes us right to our YouTube page.
Stickers.
So
stick them
perfect for a deck box.
Yeah.
You could slap it on. This is an old Versus system deck box, but look at that. It goes on it.
Booyah.
Got the tins.
You have the same one in right on your desk.
I remember those tins.
You could put it on.
I think I have the other one.
The deck cubes. I have
slap it on a school bus or the back of the stop sign, wherever you want.
Right. Great for a water bottle, great for a laptop, Great for
I have the cap
a
one.
night out on the town with your significant other.
Your SO.
Great on a trophy. When you win a trophy, just slap it right on. Just say, listen, KTOD helped me get there.
That was a cool thing, like seeing, and this is why like pre-release time is so fun. Like not only did people like show their posts, but we had so many people in the Discord be like, went 3-0, 4-0, won my
first pre-release.
Yeah, and like there was people who were new to TCGs and they watched our videos and hung out and chatted with everyone in the Discord and like took down pre-releases or like went to the finals of like a 50-person pre-release and it was their first time. It was crazy. So that was really cool to see.
My favorite thing of our Discord, I think, of all the ones, is the event chat one, or event results, where people, it's like there's no chatter in it, and it's just like, oh, Sunday night, like it's just like you just get click, and you just look and there's like 50 new posts. Like went 4-0, went 5-1, took down a 63-person one in Poland, like random like places, like took Maddie's list and won, took Steve's like limited device and won, like took Bobby's yellow boba and won. That was like a common thing. Like, I mean, how many people won with your yellow deck with like your sideboard stuff? Or the green Sabine chat was a lot of like, hey, I won this one, more maces are coming in. So that's like one of the best things.
It's the best feeling.
I'll go up the list right now. Won my pre-release with red green. 4-0 my pre-release today. Won my pre-release today. 3-0. 4-0 my pre-release with 43-person. Like won my 26-person store showdown. Late showdown with Han Red.
Late showdown, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just sick. Like it's the most fun. I was saying to the guys before this, but like seeing people win, like I want to do well, and like that's obviously like I'm competitive and all that, but like seeing people win and get these comments, like so it's just insane.
Another
it's
thing
like
that's
even
great,
better.
Another thing that's great is like, you know, we're very helpful inside of it. Maybe not Steve as much, but like the three of us are really like, you know, like we'll like do like kind of like deck doctor on demand. But we're also like pretty busy a lot, and like we're not always like, you know, refreshing Discord. But you'll just like walk in on a thread and you'll see like a lot of other like really veteran people in the community helping someone else and being like, this deck looks good. Like our old buddy Mike Yakko has been helping a ton of people in Green Sabine. Where I haven't been as like quite as tapped into that thread.
Oh, you're on vacation.
You're on vacation, and people get that too. You know,
he's like taking out like advice on lines and stuff like that. So it's like a pretty common thread where like someone will basically tap into their expertise and help someone else out who aren't even connected to us.
Yeah, and shout out to Yakko and our old buddy Dom for starting their own YouTube channel. I'm scrolling to try and find it, but yeah, they're a couple good players, and they're starting a YouTube channel. They start by talking about Yellow Boba and Green Sabine, couple good decks. I will get the name for it while you guys talk about this question because I'm having trouble scrolling and I don't want to
Dom
forward.
Me up and was like, "How do you guys make your videos?" And I was like, I walked him through like the OBS stuff.
Oh, nice.
So he had no idea like how it all worked.
It's like when it's like when we were virtual teaching and we had to teach all the teachers at our school how to do videos.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Mike taught me, and then I taught someone else.
One thing I was going to say quick before this question is like, there's still so much room for people to make content. Like, I think some of the best content creators like have either just started or haven't even started yet. Yeah. Like, I see this game having legs, and I'm excited to see what like new people churn out.
I found it. It's called Swoo Talk with Yakko and Dom, and it's just at Swoo Talk, SWUTALK. So really, good. Really
it's
great
a good
name, easy to find. Give them a follow. Get them up to the let's have them chase us to 5K.
Yeah, chase us. Dom's been good at like every game he's ever played. So.
Yeah, and we've known those guys since the 90s.
25 years.
All right, so let's get to these questions from our Stanny.
Dude, I was Stan with a quote at the end. Golly, killing it.
It's been mentioned multiple times, both in podcast videos or discussions in the Discord, that Midrange seems to have a problem being viable going forward in set 2, since aggro and control look so strong at each end of the spectrum. He's newer to the TCG, CCG competitive scene, but what are the tools and or aspects of the game it needs or we should be looking at to have success in the mid-range? Or does Mr. Miyagi have a point? Walk on road, walk right side safe, walk left side safe, walk in middle. Sooner or later, you get squished like a grape, just like grape. So does mid-range have a problem?
I don't think so. So I think it's sort of reversing my take from earlier where I don't know much about limited at this time in terms of constructed. I do feel like I have a good handle on it. I think that, like, obviously, like, Mike, when you went to Florida and you played against the blue-red Vader with, like, Boba, you knew that was just, like, a non-game, right? Like, mid-range into that style of control.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's many mid-ranges that are absolutely totally fine into like the controls. Like certainly playing like a really competitive chess-like game where you're not just like, why did I bother? But I think there's some decks like um, like the hero command, like mid-rangey Luke decks from set one. Like, yeah, those aren't going to beat like hard control that's trying to like, mill you out and get you to fatigue or whatever and stuff like that. But I think like if you look at like a command villain blue into like let's say like a hard control, and that matchup's very competitive. I think there's a bunch of other things that are competitive. I think there's new tools that help mid range too. Like you can control struggles with some cards. If you look at like Crate Dragon now as being a card that helps control but also kind of hurts control too. Like how does that work, right? Like I don't think it's just like, oh yeah, control smashes all mid range. That's my take.
If I could touch.
Oh yeah, after you go and then I'll hop on. No, you go, Steve.
So one thing I think is important, and I know like specifically you've said this a few times, Justin, like with the way the time rules are and the way that the hard control mirror matches get set up, it's going to be a miserable experience if you're jamming hard control into hard control all day long. And I think people are going to steer towards more of mid-range or aggressive because they don't want to have to play those hard control mirror matches, in which case you're going to have a little bit more room as a mid-range player to get those beneficial matchups against the aggro, against the other mid-range things, and there'll be less actual hard control.
Yeah, they're going to get gate-kept a little bit by those rules.
My point kind of goes off of that, and I'll be quick so you can jump in, Maddie. But the point I wanted to make was that like this question sort of like worries about the wrong things for me. It's not that I think it's going to have a problem in set 2 that's too broad. The problem is like knowing when to play each deck.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right now it might feel bad because everyone's focused on aggro and then everyone's focused on control. But like knowing what the mid-range decks are and when to play them is the most important thing. Like if the meta is all hard control decks and you want to do the slog, you got to pivot. So it's about being ready for me. And like I don't think mid-range has a problem. It's just like not. I don't even know. I can't even say that it's not firing right now because like no one's playing right now. This is all just speculation.
Yeah. No one's playing.
But there's no way one of the pillars of CCGs is dead.
Is going to crumble just because.
No, I agree 100%. I think like even towards the end, like our testing teammate Wu had like really good success with Granick, and he was like, this deck has a really good matchup against the hard, like quote unquote hard controls. The soft, he felt like soft control was good against hard control.
Well, you get to ramp and play relentless.
Right, exactly.
We always
so, like,
believed
there's
that.
lines that have like
it was overstated,
really strong
how
angle.
Good control.
And then I do think like Mike's point can't be said enough, and this is another reason to subscribe to the Discord because we're aware of this, of like the ebbs and flows of week to week stuff, like when it's right to play a tournament. Like I had my evolution with Green Sabine was like, this deck is insane, play it, it'll crush everything. It was like the only 8-0 in Florida, like with exact carbon copy of my list. And the next weekend was like, hey, this list is sick now because we have the mirror breaker tech, like Admiral Akbar, and like this is what you guys need to do. Like gave that to Tada and like a bunch of people in the Discord. Like I think we had 3 or 4 people in the top 8 of the SCG in Richmond. And then it was like, okay, we're starting to lose steam here. And I had a bunch of like people commenting like, hey, what's the update? And I was like, the update might be to like play Mike's deck this
take a week
because
off.
it's not. I can't beat that deck with Sabine. We're not getting as much value in the mirror. So hey, do you have updates? And I was like, yeah, the update is that there hasn't been one. This is about as good as we've gotten it, and it's actually not like the best deck to play for this weekend. I look back at like Magic. There was a while where like people would go on like Benders and Magic, Maddie, when the Grand Prix were like every week.
Yeah.
Like remember like Brad went on those runs, and what would happen is Brad Nelson would set the meta for a week, and then he'd like beat his own meta.
You're playing last week's deck.
That's
like the
I try to tell this to people, and
and that's doable in this game. That's doable in this game.
Every deck, I know, like with card availability and like they're Star Wars fans and they want to play like who they like, but like every deck is a tool to accomplish what you want. You need to understand where things are going in your meta and like use that deck as a tool. But just coming back to the mid-range conversation, like there are mid-range decks that like can mop control. Like I remember playing against some playtesting games with George when blue Vader was like the thing, and I played Chirrut into him, and post board I just killed his hand and won the games easily. Like when you're playing like any of these blue red decks and you're starting to see like people play main deck Vigilance, like you can have a plan too. Like Soft Control weren't playing as many Relentlesses, and then it's like, okay, we are seeing a rise in these hard control decks. We're just gonna ramp. They don't ramp. We're just gonna ramp and play Relentless and like see it later. So you just got to know what tools you have available. If you're in red, you just attack their hand. If you're in green, you ramp and play the Star Destroyers and start getting them back. Playing cards like Command for 6 even, or now Palp's Return. There's somebody who posted a blue green Palp deck today, and I gave him a little tip about Command. I think that card is really good in those matchups. So you just gotta adjust. You have 60 cards, so with mid-range, it's like, what do I want to accomplish in game 1? What weaknesses do I have, and how do I shore those up?
Yeah, you have to put the work in. I think that's one thing too. Like aggro does have the advantage. I think the games can be hard with aggro too.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of the mid-range, like the longer the games go, the more you need to understand like how things interact with other things, because like Sabine's never gonna have to worry about beating a 9 like Avenger. You know what I mean? If Avenger's out and they're at 6 life, like you're done. Like you know what I mean? Like that's or whatever, some safe out of burn range thing.
Along with putting in the work, like you said, like if you can't put in the work and like that's why you are watching these videos or whatever, just like find people, and obviously like our Discord's insane, but if you can't pay the money, like that's fine. But like find people that you trust who are like giving you real concrete evidence and like are really talking through the play lines and not just saying like to quote a friend, like, what is it? Yellow Sabine crushes green. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Shout out to our boy. No. You know who you are. I'm not gonna. But that was hilarious. Like, and then we had the money match.
For a note to the people in this community.
Yeah. So like, and that's just a joke. Like he's great. But like, what I'm saying is like, just if you can't play the games, just do your homework and find the right people to follow and not follow blind advice.
Yeah, that's what these communities are all about. That's what content's all about.
Yeah.
All right. Here's your friend Clint from down under. Well, actually, he's from New Zealand, so I'll do it in a New Zealand accent. He's from New Zealand, but he lives in Australia. All right. Where do we think legendary prices are going to settle? Do we think rares like Rekka are going to get to K2SO and Red 3 prices?
Oh, Rekka, man. When you said Rekka.
They all have New Zealand accents on that cartoon, so I also say Omega.
You sounded like Omega right there.
Yeah, good.
You sounded a bit like
I'm just glad Omega. I can do Australia and New Zealand. That's pretty huge for me.
Who's the Flight of the Conchords? Murray? Is it Murray?
Yeah, Murray. I actually just based my New Zealand off Murray. That's what I
was gonna say. You sounded like Murray. That was perfect.
That's exactly who I tried to do.
Nice.
All right. Nice. So where do we think the legendary prices are going to settle in rare prices? I bought a Poe for 35, which I'm pretty happy about. I'm trying to get another Poe for 35. I know, Maddie, you got some Snokes for like 25, 29.
Yeah. I think 29 is like on the border of what I'm willing to pay right now. I still think they're going to go up, but I think it's going to do that like Avenger Vigilance thing where it's like we're going to see the early meta and then everyone. So we're going to see talking to that slide. We're going to see the early meta. Then everyone's going to counter it with control. Those cards are going to go on the rise. This is a quick little. We'll clip this as a short. Well, I talked too long for it to be short. And then So TLDR, the blue control cards are going to spike like in the second iteration of like deck list being posted. I think
for me it's Poe, Wrecker. Sorry, Poe, DJ Snoke. Get him in the 25 to 40 range. I'd be fine paying up to 40 for Poe, maybe Snoke. DJ, I'm not trying to pay that much because I don't think he's going to stay up. But I do want to pick some. I do want to get some.
He's good.
I wouldn't buy DJ at that high a price.
Nope.
I think Snoke. To me, it's like Poe's the number one guy,
and
there's like a handful of guys that like if I was paying more than 30 right now, I wouldn't be super happy. I think some of them might. The question is where do they settle? I could see like the second or third best card that just like slots into decks ending up like in the 40 range. I think Poe's the only card that's going to be like potentially more than 40.
Yeah.
Darksaber is really great, but like I don't think it's going to be.
You don't need to pay $50
as well. Like I don't think those cards are going to be like more than set one Boba. Like I just don't see that.
Yeah, so my point of view is like I don't want to open a ton of boxes and I want to have my decks built ASAP.
Yeah.
So I want to buy 3 DJs, 3 Poes, and 3 Snokes so I can build those decks. And like Yellow Boba priority for me. So like I'm gonna buy my DJs. I'm trying not to pay more than 30 for them. But I'm gonna buy them because I don't want to open cases chasing. That's where I'm coming from.
Exactly.
I'm
That's why
opening
I do
cases all day, baby.
Nice.
I'm going for those showcases.
Streaming it in the Discord, right?
Open
I think Wrecker
Jim is set up to do it.
Opening
You
more
can stream.
packs.
I
think Wrecker.
Do you have a webcam that you can point down, Steve, or is it just with a laptop? You can just hold the cards up. Yeah. That's like my favorite part of this is like people streaming.
Foil electric staff. That's kind of cool.
Are you opening a pack too?
He's set 1.
Yeah, I only got set 1.
So excited.
I did a Patreon only pack opening to get ready for when I do pack openings, and I pulled this bad Larry foil Avenger.
Oh, nice.
Did you stage that pack opening, Matty? Because there's no way you ripped 2 legendaries out of 3 packs.
And that was I did. It was Mason, and you know what the best part is? That was the draft set that I've been sitting on for months since the set 1 release. Yeah. I kept the draft set.
That was like the one set you had.
Yeah,
you would have won that draft.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So rares, non-foils. I think like 10. Like I could see Maul being 15, 20 out the gate.
Yep.
Maybe
Maul
like settle
Wrecker.
down to like 10, 50. Yeah, Maul Wrecker. But I'm not really looking. And maybe Hot Shot Blaster.
Yeah. So I bought a few of those for 2. I'm wondering where they're going to go up to.
2?
I thought
Are there any more? Or are they sold out?
Let me check. That's why I was.
Well, if you're getting it up on the screen, buy them for me because I can't do it while I'm running this podcast. Hot Shot Blaster, scoop them up.
$199.
Yeah, grab me 3, please.
Dropped a penny.
Yeah. Hold on.
All right. From McFriga, how are you currently storing so you can find what you need with ease? A cycle of storage strategy would be helpful for people who just got into TCGs with SWU. So how are you storing stuff? Steve, you were just asking about binders. I hate binders, but I agree. Like, if you want to see everything, the binder's the way to go.
Yeah, so I recently purchased a collection off of somebody, and it was like 92% of a complete set, like one of every variation. And the kid shipped it in a 16 pocket binder, which it's massive. But at first I was pretty turned off by it, but then I started like getting turned on by it. So it's pretty cool. So like what I'm using it for is 1 regular, 1 hyperspace, 1 foil, 1 hyperspace foil. So it goes 4 across. But you could do, in theory, binders, like your regular monster binders for everything, and just go put a complete play set in there. And that way you have 3 of every card. It lines up on the page, and then you can pull things out when you want. I mean, I like it that way because it's easy to find things and it's organized, but it's also more probably geared towards having 1 deck built at a time.
Yeah.
I think I like to more go along the lines of, like if I'm going to a constructed event, asking Mike or Maddie or Justin, like, what should I be playing this week? And in that case, I build the deck and I can go. So it's easy to swap things in and out. But if you're looking to have 4 or 5 decks built at the same time, it could be a little tough.
That looks like a trade binder.
Yeah, I'm just saying this is what I have.
Yeah, but we're talking about sorting for your collection, not just trades. So like I hate binders. I hate taking cards in and out of binders because I do I build so many decks and change every week and everything. So this is a play set of the entire set 1 all sleeved in perfect fits, and I keep this in a long box, and I have one for set 2 already built. So this is 3 of everything from set 1, and then I have an additional box full of stuff for Boba, a box full of stuff just for Sabine, just so I can like have those built. And then I have another deck box. This is just like staples of common cards like takedowns, making openings, things that go in multiple decks that I need multiple of. I put all my extras in another box. So I do boxes and they're sorted by color and alphabet, like the set, whatever, alphabetical.
For those watching, I just showed what I use, that big ass box.
These are all great strategies and plans to I just want to be aware for the other people in listening. There's many of us like me who will just never organize cards, and you'll look for 1 card in a needle in a haystack, and you've spent probably months, if not years of your life, just looking through
That's how we all
these
started.
long boxes. Hold on.
You have the bin there, Justin?
Wait, the box that I have is
do.
good because you can sort it by colors.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
no,
I
Justin's talking
think
about
so.
how many times we've like gone through the same piles over and over, looking for cards
Oh,
individually,
like
and
we
then go
just
through
brought
those
a card.
same
Hey,
piles.
we
You're like,
need
oh, I
this
forgot this one.
card. Can you find
Justin,
this
do you have the
copy?
bin there?
I do.
You should show him the bin.
It's not like accessible to a view right now, but just boxes and
All right,
boxes and
we'll show the
boxes.
bin
And I
sometime.
think when you get like color combinations, it's like it would be great if you just like put all the red, but then you're like the red villain and the red. So I'm just like, you know what? Put it in a bin.
Yep.
Spend some time to look for it. It's fine.
All right, here's a good one. When there's such an influx of cards in a game that's so young, how do you go about upgrading deck from set 1 to 2? Do you just take the existing deck, add all the cards from set 2 that you think could fit, and make cuts, or do you start from scratch, looking at them as a one pool, and rebuild the deck anew?
I gave this some thought the other day because I saw this question was coming.
Great question,
and like
Mad Surfer.
Yeah, this is an insane question. One thing like I think is not a bad idea, and I wish that I did it more, and I think I'm gonna do it, is like sometimes it's good to like play the original deck and like see where its pain points are and then try to solve from there. Like what I did was just jam in a bunch of new cards to see their power level, like as things went. But like if you're always getting wrecked by a certain play, like filing that away and being like, how can I solve this common issue or whatever? Is like a cool way to tackle it as well. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on that.
This question's nuts, by the way. It's like so good.
Yeah.
I would say like there's certain cards. So like if you're talking about like existing decks, you're talking about like a yellow boba or like green Sabine or something like that, and they come out with a card. There is a certain level of like opportunity cost, right? Because like the curves of those decks are pretty much established. Like you don't all of a sudden want to just like jam in more of a specific card because so some are like clear upgrades. But you look at a good example of that would be like Cassian going into the Sabines for set 2. It's like he's a 3/5 for 3 with upside with a smuggle. He's a rebel. He's great. Steve's holding him right there. But and then there's also the Sundari Peacekeeper card, right? Like another 3. You can't play 18 3-drops in Sabine.
Didn't you just tell me you had a list with like 28 of them?
Well, no, that was the 21 list with 3PO. We're always naming 3. But that was a different deck. So basically, like, you can't realistically do that. So, like, it's like Fighters for Freedom that gets cut. So, like, one of the things that you can do is you can actually, like, play some games and just, like, on, like, turn 2, just, like, make a card in your hand, any of the 3-drops, and just, like, see when it would be better.
Yeah.
That was something I encouraged, like, Reflex and Mike to do right before they went to Florida. They were like, oh, let's test Cunning. And they're like, all right, let's test 2 copies. And I told them, we were in a voice call, and I was like, don't test any copies. Just draw it on turn 5 every game.
Yep.
And just play it and see if it's nuts on turn 5. Because if it's nuts on turn 5, then play 3 copies and like you'll just have it. So like that's one thing. I do think what you said, Maddie, is true. Like I think oftentimes you'll have like a really exciting deck. I did this with Sabine for set 2. If you look at the very early iterations, I was like, oh, this card's this great, this card's this great, this card's great. We don't need Metal Ceremony anymore. We don't need this anymore. And it's like, no, now the deck's like super clunky. So like you don't want to forget the existing shell, and sometimes like changing less is actually better than changing.
Yeah, this is a mix for me. As cards were spoiled, I would just jam them in to try them, like test the power level, see how they are. But then I do the other thing. Once I've kind of got a feel for some of the cards, then I start from scratch and build the deck anew. That's I'm like pretty steadfast on thinking people should be rebuilding decks, even if they're only a couple cards different, rather than just making adjustments to see.
I think what makes it hard is like. What makes it hard is there's just so many cards that come in like a wave. Like you think the last 2 weeks of like FFG when they were doing the spoilers, it was like Red got like the burn card, and then it got like Daring Raid, and then it got Bow, and it's like, okay, all these cards are good, but then like what's the deck look like? And then like you get like Cassian at the end, and you got like Poe and Wrecker, these 2 big guys for Sabine. It's like, well, how do they interact? And like how does everything fit together when you got so much? I look at like Yellow Boba being the same way. Like you got Dr. E and you got Bazine, and they're both 2-drops. You just jam 3 of each. Like how does it actually work? Like McClunky is a good example of that. Like we were all super high on that card. Then it's like, well, what comes out? Shoot first, come out. Like how does this all work? So there's a big metric of sort of seeing how it all goes.
How much time and effort does Maddie spend on mustache grooming? How long has it been since anyone saw his naked face without it? And what would it take to convince him to shave it off?
Well, the first thing is nothing. I'm not shaving it off. So since the dawn of time, people have been asking.
Will you keep it forever?
Oh, I'll probably do like what my dad did, and like in my like 50s, I'll get rid of it. It ain't going anywhere.
What if we get 2,000 members in Discord?
No.
Come on. 2,000 members before December.
What if Elon Musk buys the KTOD?
All right. If
Elon Musk buys your
do I get it? And he's got to give me a Tesla, and then we'll talk. I need a new car anyway.
So it's a Tesla.
My car doesn't have 4-wheel drive, so I need a new car with the.
You'd shave it off for a Tesla, is what I'm getting.
Yeah, and about. So actually, it's funny that Mark asked the question about the mustache grooming, because what I do, and I'm about to go through another phase, is I overgrow it and then I trim it back, because I hate that. It's like a haircut, the awkward stage. I hate the mustache awkward stage, so I'm about to trim it again soon. It's a little bushy right now, but yeah, not shaving it. No, right. I have a forward facing, like
yeah, it's this thing.
It ain't happening.
I'll post some pictures of Maddie from when he was baby face.
Oh my God.
I have plenty.
I have the wedding ones.
Yeah, the wedding ones are good.
Yeah, you get chubby Maddie and no mustache. You get like 2 double whammy.
That was
great. We saw a lot of Maddie that weekend.
That's all I had for the pod. Does anyone have anything they want to talk about before we don't do a podcast for 2 weeks?
No, excited to hear about the pre-release stuff from people. Like, just for the people who are already in the Discord, keep posting the pre-release like info. Like, that's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
So just keep up the hype of like screenshots of lists.
I wish I posted for other people to do this, but I made little packs of every set 1 leader in case.
Oh yeah, did those go out?
Yeah. So I made 3. I made 3 packs of every set 1 leader in case there were people who were just finding the game for the first time and it was their first time playing SWU. And 3 people at the event were there for the first time. It was 2 guys who play Lorcana and one of their girlfriends, and so I was just able to give them 3 packs of every set 1 leader. And I wish I had made that recommendation to other people, but next time they'll have KTOD stickers in them when I think of it.
Yeah.
But I think that was really helpful. They were kind of shocked that someone would just give away free stuff like that. So if you have any events,
there's still people going out, yeah.
And not even just pre-releases, but just like, maybe you go to your first local and people only have set 2 stuff, like. Yeah. Maybe stores already do this, but I don't know. Our store doesn't.
I might try to go to one this afternoon at 3.
Where's that?
I don't know. Same spot.
Oh, yikes. Well, I'll be at Game On in Warwick. They were cool. They were like, we might run out, but we have packs. And I said, like, oh, well, I've already done a couple pre-releases, so I can just bring leaders for people if you want to, like, give those to people. And he's like, oh, sick, because then we don't have to cap it. He said, because I have plenty of packs. Oh, cool. And I'll just, if people are okay with not having an actual pre-release box and just getting 6 packs, then we can do as many as we need. So
sweet.
That's
cool. I like that they're willing to work with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice of them. And so I have two Gideon and 2 Mandos, so I'll bring them down.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you checked us out, we'll be back in 2 weeks with our pre-Gen Con prep. Pretty hyped for that. Yeah. And otherwise, GG. See you at the tables.
See ya.
Peace. Later.